means that these two in and out templates align, and so we get a point for the pointers. It just so happened out of luck that both of these events involved an CEO. Now, the only jobs that mattered for this were CEO, president, and I think vice president, and chairman. So we did get lucky and get that right. And then, of course, there's a high level, since there's more than one event, there's actually a place to store all the events. And since we actually aligned these events correctly, we get a point for that, and let's see. That would be 8 correct out of 13 that we generated and 15 in the key, giving us a score of 57-1 again, right? The same score we got the earlier time. State-of-the-art performance, right? This isn't exactly, I should say, this is not exactly what fastest generated for this. I modified like one or two slots just to make the point, but it's close, right? We did really well in this message after completely bungling it. Now, you might say, okay, all right, that's cute, that's funny, but it's still kind of harmless, so we got a little fortuitous credit, but no big deal. And there's no reason, maybe this affected how systems were ranked, but there's no reason to think that any system would benefit from this effect more than any other. But it is a problem because of this role of evaluation in the development scenario, right? So a very typical thing to do, when you're hand coding one of these systems, you often find events where the extracting the right event would just be too hard linguistically, right? It's just, you're on the tail end of the zip curve. If you encoded a pattern, you would never see an example that pattern matched in test data, and you could screw something else up, so you just punt on it. But maybe you can fix the bug that overgenerated the garbage. Now, usually, what happens if you do nothing to your system except, get rid of irrelevant garbage, you expect your precision to improve and your recall to stay the same, right? So imagine in an information retrieval setting where if you made a change that did nothing but take some irrelevant documents that you were previously saying were relevant and now correctly categorizing them as irrelevant, this is what would happen and your F score would go up. Now this is a kind of a degenerate case because once you take away, so if you get rid of that garbage event, essentially your recall goes from this to 0. These can't become undefined because there's also a 0 in the denominator. These are both 0 over 0. But the contribution from the overall system is essentially 0. To make this a little more concrete, so we don't have these zeros, let's just suppose we had a case. So here's our template.